Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. Thank you for joining us today for a very special, very different, and unique Globinar by Global Chamber. We're speaking today with Dr. Jagat Shah. It's a one-on-one, so we're going to be taking your questions. We have a few questions for Dr. Shah as well, and so as you go along and you come up with questions, please post them either into the Q&A section or send them to info@globalchamber.org and we'll handle them from here. I wanted to do something a little bit unique. We don't normally do a more detailed introduction, but I'd like to do that today with Dr. Shah. He's had over 2 decades of international activities and really extraordinary activities, not normal, like 1 in a million type of activities, and maybe 1 in 10 or 1 in 100 million. It's really quite unusual what he's been doing the last 20 plus years. He started with an MBA in international trade. He's been trained and certified by the United Nations in Turin, Italy. I've heard him speak about the diamond industry in Surat, and one of the reasons why is he's been trained at the India Diamond Institute in diamond technology. So it's one of his many knowledge base. One of the unique things about Dr. Shah is that he is very dedicated toward SMBs and really in any area, food, diamonds, technology, pretty much any industry is okay. He's been focused on cluster development, and he's been in India. He's based in Ahmedabad, but he's worked in over 20 countries in those areas. He's among all the things that he does, in addition to his India work, he, for 7 years, believe it or not, has been the foreign representative of the government of Manitoba, Canada, in India as well. He and I met several years ago while he was putting himself in the Guinness World Book of Records on Mentor on Road, where he was driving on the road with his wife. I think it was one of your children as well, over 10,000 miles, city to city across the US and Canada as an ambassador for India, but really I think above India, even more a champion for small and medium-sized businesses. And I think it's one of the things that those of us that have met him are impacted by, is that he loves small and medium-sized businesses. He wants them to succeed. He passionately cares about them, and it comes through in all the things that he does. So Dr. Shah, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. And I think one of the things we definitely want to cover today is the 4 primary initiatives that you are working on, and I'll just list them out so that we have an opportunity to chat about each one. First of all, market input to India's leadership on a variety of areas: Make in India, Skill India, Startup India, Stand Up India, Digital India, Clean India, and Smart India. So there's a trend there, and one of the trends certainly is amazing. There's so many things there. So that's one of his initiatives. Number 2, Vibrant Markets. So vibrantmarkets.biz, it's a state-of-the-art market research firm with 600 clients globally. And I think one of the things those of us speaking with him certainly get a grasp on is that he's a market research expert. And that's been a lot of his success with international business. The third initiative is something that's near and dear to me, and well, I'm sure we're going to hear more, and it's called the 60 Plus Life, www.60pluslife.org. It's redeploying retired people to productive work. That's the third area. And then finally, the 4th priority right now, amongst all of the other things, is Smart Village, smartvillage.biz, converting 62 villages in India into smart villages in 1,000 days. So if Dr. Shah, that is extraordinary. You are incredibly busy. I don't know how you pack your days in. He and I spoke yesterday in the morning Pacific time US, and it was sometime around 9 or 10 in the evening in Ahmedabad, and he still had one more call to do. So I think that really pretty much sums it up. But before it does sum up, I want to say, what did I leave out? There's got to be something that I've left out. How do you do it, and what did we leave out?
Oh, thank you, Doug. It was actually fascinating listening that this is all that I do from your mouth, right? So first of all, before I answer your question, I mean, I must congratulate you, because the way Global Chamber you have started and visionary, and I was earlier telling that how everybody in the world today is following your model, but you are the pioneer, and that too many years back. So it's an amazing model. Ever since I met you first time, I have been saying this. So thank you for doing what you do. So, Doug, I come from a middle class family, but I had the, good opportunity to live across the country. I belong to the state of Gujarat, uh, which is a very entrepreneurial state. And so, one limitation I always found in our state of Gujarat is the people in Gujarat don't want to move away from Gujarat, because there is so much prosperity here. It is one of the richest provinces of India and very enterprising. But I had that opportunity to travel across country, and I think that built my character, because mixing with different cultures. India itself is like a continent, so mixing with cultures and people, and that really built my character and my motivations, and I really love India because of the diversity it offers to the world. So all the work which I do is actually reflective of I think my upbringing, because it was all across the country, meeting different people and of different diversity. That really builds your character, because then that is actually the first step to going global.
You mentioned about going across the country. What brought you across the country? What was it that had you going and visiting and starting to absorb this?
Yeah, so actually that was my childhood, so my
Okay.
school and college. My father used to be a construction sector guy. He was a contractor, and he used to do a lot of military projects across the country. So wherever he would be tenders and wherever he would get the project, he would go. So we would also go along with him. So that is how we lived all across the country. And then as we were getting into a little bit higher education, we like class 8 onwards, we then studied in Delhi. So we stayed in Delhi, and my father then started another business in Delhi. And I did all my schooling and college in Delhi. Again, Delhi is a place in India which is, a true, mini India. So it's everybody from the country is there, because it's the seat of governance. And so you will find everybody there. So my schooling, college was there. And that is, again, I feel personally that my education in Delhi was a game changer in my life, because I came across so many people of different diversity, and it built my character.
So many people either don't notice diversity or they don't care about diversity. You, on the other hand, embraced it. And so what is it about you that's different in that sense? And then embracing it meant to you what? What were some of the things that, as you were a young man, made you start to think about, these are some of the areas where I want to work?
Yeah, so the thing is that people do not actually get opportunity in India for diversity, because like I was mentioning that in Gujarat, my state, uh, even today, people are not very willing to leave the state and go elsewhere to work and stay.
Sure.
That is something, because they are comfortable here, the language, the food, the atmosphere, the people, the family, and they are prosperous. So that was one reason, that the exposure to diversity was more to me, because I by default, because of my father's work, I had to travel, and I actually enjoyed. So that is one reason. And another thing about embracing diversity is, so for example, like we were 6 very close friends in school. Until today, we are very close. So all of them from different regions of the country, different culture, different food, different festivals, and we would celebrate everything. They would come to my house, they will eat Gujarati food. I will go to their house, I will eat Punjabi food. Marwari food. So, and then we would be together. Languages are different, clothing are different. So then when you become part of that, you really enjoy that, and that is how you embrace it.
I notice on your LinkedIn profile, you say, you even made the note, the best time of my life so far was in school and college. And I think it's also interesting, activities and societies at school, dramatics.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course.
We
Yeah,
can
yeah,
definitely see that.
yeah, yeah. Right, right.
So the best time for you was because of these issues that you're raising? I mean, your mind was opening up to new ideas and new thoughts, it sounds like, which, it's great, right?
Yeah, so this combination of enterprise, which my state, our community, Gujarati community, and my state, it is there in our DNA. So the quality of enterprise, and mixed with that, all these intercultural amalgamation and exposure, that creates, I think, a very different kind of a combination. So this I always tell everybody in Gujarat, young people, that go and work outside Gujarat. It will change your entire life and perspective. So I think this combination of enterprise and looking at the entire country culture is a game changer for me.
You mentioned your father, so I presume that your family supported you to certainly in school, and going forward. I mean, who are the kind of the key influences in your life relative to going to school and then launching your career?
Yeah, so in the school, like my teachers were there, and particularly we are a group of 6 friends who were, we were very close right from the day one, and we stuck together in college also, and then till today. So that was a big influencer, and their parents, because we used to go to their house. That's the culture in India, and so, and of course the teachers, and then one interesting thing I think happened to me was that. My father encouraged me that even when you are studying, even when I was in 11th class, which is even before college, in this vacation in India, he would encourage me to go and work somewhere. Not for the money part of it, but for me to experience. So right from class 11, I started actually selling. I still remember my first work, which was something like I was 17 or 18, was to sell pillows. And I used pillows. And there was a company, they hired me for 2 months, that your college holidays, you go and sell. Home to home I would go and explain the features of a pillow and then sell. And whatever sales I would do, I would get a percentage out of it, no salary. So so that again gave me an exposure to meet so many people. Someone will insult me, someone will be very good to me, someone would offer water, someone would offer food, someone would buy, someone would not buy. So all that exposure of meeting so many different, and this was in Delhi, so again there were so many different communities there across the country. So that also gave me an understanding that how different people from different regions have a tendency of behavior.
When did you start to get in your head that, hey, I can help these people, I can help these entrepreneurs? I mean, did it take absorbing what they were doing and seeing mistakes? I mean, what was the transition from that wonderful period of time in your life to now where you've got 1,000,001 things that you're doing, nearly all of them assisting SMBs?
Yeah, and actually I began my career with a job. So almost 10 years I worked in companies. So I worked in Xerox. And then I worked in a Chinese company in China in textiles. So I had 10 years of internet, but this Chinese company work was related to international business, and I traveled, and we had office in Taiwan and Indonesia, and Indonesia office was started by me. So and then in 1997, after 10 years of work, I came back to Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad in Gujarat is my hometown. And that is the time when I said, enough of this jobs, and now I want to do something on my own. And this is very interesting. And this is actually a big game changer of my career. So when I started meeting a lot of small, because I said, okay, I will work with small, medium enterprises, because, large companies, they don't need an advisor or a consultant for international market. They have highly paid salaried people. If they have to hire an advisor, they will question their salaried people. Then what are you doing in the company if we have to get an international business advisor? So that was not my target. So I said, okay, who will give me consultancy? I said, small, medium enterprise. So I started meeting them. And I think I met about 30 or 40 of them in a month. And each and every one, without any exception, told me that if you will guide us how to export, then why don't you export? So either you don't know, because if you know, you would do it yourself, because in my state of Gujarat, nobody would guide anyone. I mean, they will do their own business. Everybody is so enterprising, right? So I didn't have an answer to that. I wanted to stay in a service sector area, not start some product export. I was doing that for 10 years in different companies. So then I almost gave up. I did for 6 months. I had no client. I mean, nobody to guide. And then one day, one company, he told me, why don't you do training? He said, because you talk of your experiences of international. Why don't you do training? I said, yeah, fine, I can do training. He said, yeah, if you do training, I will attend. I said, okay, I'll do training. So I met all those 30, 40 people again. And I said, will you take training? Everybody said, yes, training we will take. So I thought that it took me 6 months to understand the difference between consultancy and training. So actually, consultancy and training is almost similar, very thin line of difference. And the fees which I was asking them for consultancy, almost similar fees I asked them for training, and they agreed. But they said consultancy, no. So I did my first batch, and I remember that is the first time in my life I took a lecture. So 15 of the business people came together in the evening, 6 to 7:30 in a college. I took a classroom, and I just started telling my experience, because I didn't have any material I had never developed any material to teach anybody. So I just used to tell them my experiences. Okay, I was selling shoes from China. I was selling textile. I went to South Africa. I went to Italy. This is how I met buyers. This is how I talked. This is how they negotiated. This is how we pack, all of that. Just I would just share with them my practical experience, and they liked it because that was real. That was real. What we are taught in the books is just theory. So they appreciated. Then one of the guys told me, why do you take all of us to one country? Because you have been to so many countries, and we will see what opportunity we can do. I said, fine. So here Raihan is there, and I am very grateful that my first delegation of my life as a business was to Bangladesh, because Bangladesh was very near to India. I said, okay, the travel cost will also be less, and I had been there 2-3 times earlier, so I knew some people. So I said, okay, so 12 people came with me, and 10 days before I went alone to Bangladesh, I met a lot of companies whom I will arrange their meetings with when they come. And when they came, I arranged the meetings. And about 3 of them, I think, got some business out of 12, only 3. But when I came back, this was very interesting. All 12 of them came to me, and I still remember I didn't have an office that time. I was working from home. Nowadays, everybody is working from home. In 1997, I was working from home, right? For a different reason. They came to my home saying, you took us to Bangladesh. The way you did everything for us is exactly the way to do in Brazil, is exactly to do the way in anywhere in the world. Your process was perfect. Your process was right. So now we understand the meaning of consultancy, and we are ready to hire you as a consultant. So that gave me an idea. Let me do a lot of training. Let me take my students, as I call them, but they are all entrepreneurs, to different countries. And after every time I come back, some will convert into my client for consultancy. And it really worked. Next 4 years, I took 32 delegations to all the 5 continents in the world. And all these my students, first I would train them, teach them. I started developing the materials also for teaching. And then I would take them to a country, actually arrange buyer-seller meet with importers and get them business. And every time, not everybody will get business, but when they came back, many of them converted into my clients. So I think next 4 years, I got already almost 120 clients, and all small, medium enterprises. And then my model became very popular. So different states of India started calling me that, you are forming these groups and we will give you ready group. So will you take them to a country and fix up meetings? I said, that is very easy, because half only work I have to do earlier. Half work I had to do to prepare the delegation, then half work I have to do to get them meetings. Right? But now half work somebody else is going to do, they're going to give me 20 people. I just have to do another half. So I said, fine. So I doubled my delegations in a year. Right? So this is the way by default. Actually, it was not by plan. By default, my global network, which is my first company, global network, which till today is my flagship company, and it is one of the companies which makes money. Most of my companies are actually money spenders. Only one or two companies makes money for me. All other companies are my like charity or not-for-profit businesses which I run. But these two businesses like Vibrant Markets and Global Network are the ones which makes money and funds all my not-for-profit activities.
Got it. The training that you did, is it similar to like what you do now, where you share your own experience,
Yes.
but then you talk to them about their own specific issues and kind of work through it? Is it that kind of a training that you were doing then, and how does that compare to now?
That's a very good question, Doug. That's very good. So what I would do, because the companies would be working all day, so I would do the training in the evening. So whole day I was free. Okay. So what I would do, I would go to my students' factories or offices and spend time with them. I would visit the shop floor. I had seen shop floors in China, so I had a very good understanding of how China had built their businesses. And I would make suggestions. Why your floor is a right angle? Why don't you make it curvature? Dust will not stay there. Why don't you change this shop floor design? Why don't you? These two people are not productive. Like that, I would give them a lot of advice which was not related to export, but was more related to competitiveness. But by observing, I was able to understand that this is, there was a pump company, they used to do a very dark blue color. And I said, why don't you do green color? Because, your water pumps are going to the agricultural fields. So, it should merge with the crop. So it may give you a better positioning. So they said, yeah, fine. So they did it and it picked up. A lot of people gave them a review that it's good that you change the color. So, like this, a whole day I would go to different students' factories and offices and, just guide them beyond what was my scope of work in terms of training. So they appreciated that. And that is how, I got more engaged with them. And my day was also busy, because otherwise what I would do all day.
Okay, so you really
and then in the evening, and in the evening I would share with them. Slowly, I actually started building my curriculum, the subjects, notes, case studies, and then I would then it became a very, very regular and very professional program.
So it became like quote unquote real training, but it still had this very much of a factor where you were helping them and becoming, really what you were becoming was a trusted advisor, right, through the training. And then the transition to a consultant is pretty small, right, if you're already inside as a trusted advisor.
Yes. And when you say that, I still remember. And then because of the trust factor, so many of these, see, in India we have these family businesses. So 2-3 brothers would be in business, then they have children grow up, each one has 2 children, then 6 children are joining, then there are differences in the company, right? So many of these my students would then make me problem solver in the family also, because everybody trusted me. I was the common trust factor. So they would say, this brother is doing all these problems, his son doing like this. Then I would meet all of them, I would do counseling, and because I'm a neutral guy with no interest in the business, I would give them a business advice and they would follow. So you are very right, so it all boiled down to trust.
Yeah. So you downplay this because you're so humble, but now I better understand. You mentioned 23 years of international, but that doesn't count those previous experiences you had with Xerox and the China company, right? I mean, that undoubtedly was the foundation for you to get that sensibility, right? To be able to ask questions and to guide on the shop floor and things like that. That was a significant part of your life, that period of time. And one of the questions I often get by young people is, should I join a big company or a small company in the beginning? You and I both joined a big company. I was with DuPont and you were with Xerox. And quite honestly, there's a lot of positives about that, but there's also a lot of negatives, especially on the long-term side for people like you and I who are entrepreneurial. How important was that period of time, and how do you advise people relative to, especially young people, big company or small? Where should I go?
That's a very good question again, Doug. So what happens, what I went through was that when you work in a big company, you learn the processes. You have the structure of organization. You have a hierarchy. The processes is more important. And initially, if you learn that, and because in the smaller companies, the processes are missing. So if you have known that, you can bring that experience to the smaller companies later on, if you work with. So always good to start with a larger company is my opinion, but not really very long, not to work very long, because then you get addicted to all the perks which they offer. Because if you are a good performer, you will get so many perks, you will never want to leave, right? And then you are just part of I always say, never join the rat race, because even if you win the race, you are still a rat. Right? So the corporate life, I consider it to be a rat race. But the SME life, I mean, working with a small medium company is very satisfying, right? So begin with a large company and then go, because in a large, the one disadvantage of large company, in a very large company you are a small person, in a small company you are a big person. It doesn't matter what is your age, right? Because there are not many people, and if you are smart and if you are hardworking, it will shine. You will shine. But in a large company, you will have a very small task because there are so many people.
Yeah, there's risk though, right? So that 6 months where you were trying to sell your consulting, I mean, what was your wife telling you at that point? I presume you were married at the time, and was she giving you pressure? Was your family, were you questioning yourself? There's a whole series of things that entrepreneurs need to have to keep going, right? And the other part of it that's so critical is you actually ask people questions and you got input and you listen to the input. When the fellow said, hey, maybe you should be doing training, you pivoted, right? So you changed and you started to see now, instead of 0%, you got 100%. And all it really was largely calling it something different, although you did some shift. I mean, so those are all very important entrepreneurial characteristics that you may or may not see out in the community all the time. So how relative to your own skill sets, what are some of the things that you see out there that I presume you're teaching some of these skills as well?
Yeah. So sorry, I lost the thought. What was your question?
Oh, well, I actually asked a couple questions there. Sorry, I think it was my fault. So the first part of it was, your family support and your own.
Yeah, okay, I got
feeling.
it. Yeah. So yeah,
and then the second
first
part
I will
was
answer
more
the
around
family.
how you teach others around those things.
Yeah, right. So this is again a very strong point of our Indian culture and Indian family system. So my wife, I always publicly, so many times I have narrated this, and in Mentor on Road, she is always with me on the road. My wife told me at that time when I was struggling that, look, for running the house for 1 year, I have enough savings. You don't worry. I will run the house. You don't have to pay 1 rupee to the house. But you do not leave the journey of entrepreneurship. Because I was also thinking to take up a job in a big company. Because I had so many offers. I had so rich experience. For a big company, I was like a star catch. Everybody wanted to hire me, because so she said, but I am giving you 1 year. I do not expect anything from you. You are free from the house, not only from money point of view, but even time. You devote wherever time you want to do whatever you want to. And she was the one who told me very interesting thing. She said, look, and this is, I mean, I call her, it is her vision. Even I could not think like that at that age. She told me, I am giving you 25 years in total. Okay, we married when I was 25. She said, for 25 years, you are free to make money if you want to. But when you reach 50, that is the time when you will stop making money. And whatever money you have made, you will spend on good causes and not for profit causes. And 25 years, you are free from me. I will never ask you, I will never question you anything about, why you travel so much, why you are not with me, whatever. Of course, we spend a lot of time on holidays and everything. But I mean, this mentally, this is a big game changer. If somebody tells you, your life partner tells you like this, it's a big game changer, but it also adds pressure, because then suddenly you have only 25 years ahead of you. Sorry, to do whatever you want to do. So it's a very interesting thing. I many times I ask her how this thought came to your mind. She says, I don't know, just it came and I said it. So that is what actually I practiced. By the time I was 50, I actually all my not-for-profit businesses became much bigger than my for-profit work.
Interesting. Okay. And she applied, without thinking it, she applied pressure on you to,
Yeah, right, right.
to achieve.
It took me 25 years to understand that is what she did.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also interesting that you had the discipline to say, I don't want to join the rat race, and you could have taken a paycheck, but you decided to, struggle to some extent, right? To really kind of work it out. And she gave you the freedom to do that.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, because when I was working in the companies, I used to travel business class. I would stay in 5-star hotels. I had like amazing perks. I had 2-3 cars. I had a huge house, and suddenly all of that is no more.
So now that you've kind of moved on, you've focused in on, I mean, you've been involved with so many different things. You took from that experience, I presume, some really key learnings. How do you use those learnings when you're talking to the SMBs? Undoubtedly, many of them are entrepreneurial, right? They're people who have either had the big company and they've become an entrepreneur, or they just started maybe a family business, or they're in a family business. How do you communicate some of the key learnings that transformed your life to these SMBs?
Yeah, so I always tell them I have some very set formulas, and it applies to everybody. It doesn't matter what is their business. Doesn't matter manufacturer, trading company, service sector, whatever business they are in. One of my formula has been, and I educate them and I make them practice, is that innovation. That do one thing better than anyone else. Since many years I practice this. I say you are a part of a crowd. Do one thing better than anyone else. I don't know what is that one thing. You are an entrepreneur. It has to come from you. Second, I tell them that hire people for attitude and train them for skills. This is a very important lesson I have. I said it is all about people. Company, there is nothing like company. There is nothing like product. It is all people. It is the people who do everything. You may have any best machinery, but if you don't have the right people, you are not being able to sell the products which you make in the best machinery. So it is all about people. So hire people for attitude and train them for skills, because any skill can be trained, but attitude comes from a very long period of time. So, and the third thing I always tell them is about change. That is the permanent constant nowadays is change. I have been saying this for many years. So either you can be an agent of change or a victim of change. So anybody who comes to me for consultancy with a complaint, I generally say that you are actually a victim of change. So let me try to understand for what reasons you are a victim of change. And for these reasons, you have to do these things, then you have become agent of change. And that will be transformation of your company. So it is mindset change of the promoter, and then that reflects into the company. And fourth, very important thing I tell entrepreneurs that listen, entrepreneurship is risk. Okay, so it is okay to fail, but fail early and fail small. Very important. Fail early and fail small. And I say that is actually the foundation of innovation. Whenever you try to innovate something, it is not necessary that you are going to succeed. But in the process itself, you learn so much that from some other way you may benefit. So it's okay to fail. This is a problem in India, because in our Indian culture, failure is not looked in a very positive way, right, by the society. However, so many entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs in the world today, failed in so many initiatives which they started earlier. Whatever successes we know about them today, They succeeded after many failures. So these are three, four, five things which actually I have myself experienced. When I started consultancy, I said, what is it? There are 10,000 consultants in India, more. Anybody in India, we used to have a joke. We have a consultants association, Indian Management Consultants Institute, and we used to say anybody who has a visiting card in India is a consultant. That is the qualification. So then what is my what I am part of the crowd? How do I stand apart? So every initiative I did from beginning to till today, I am the pioneer. I always did something different. Today also that's what I do, and it sets me apart. There is nobody in the country, absolutely, who does the kind of work I do. And every time I move to the next level of innovation, all my projects, if you see, you mentioned 60 plus life, smart village, mentor on road, it is all actually part of a series. It is nothing is disconnected. If for each of the project, I will tell you, each of the project is actually centering on SME competitiveness. When I do 60 plus life and I want people who have retired to go back to work, I tell them to work with SMEs. And you have so many years of experience, you give them your experience and make them competitive. So 60 plus life looks like a charitable, it is a not for profit initiative, but actually it is helping SMEs. It doesn't make money for me, that's fine, but it is actually centered to SME. Mentor on road, I mentor companies, and mentoring means finally I connect them to somebody with whom they do business, either investment or trade or whatever. So again, it is centered around small medium enterprise. Vibrant Markets is a market research company. My smart village program is very interesting, because how it is connected to entrepreneurship is the problem in India and many of the developing countries is that in the villages, see, we have 630,000 villages in India, 630,000 villages. Even today, 65% population of India lives in villages. Okay, so the problem is the young people in villages, there is nothing to do. They have agriculture, that's all. There is no industries there. So they take up a job in a city. They are living a good life in village. They have a house, they have a farm, but they leave all of that. They go to the city. They live in slums for all of their life. They cannot buy a costly house in a city. So the city is also getting spoiled, plus their life is spoiled. That is, and I tell them, you stay in the village, smart village. Can we create an environment where you do entrepreneurship, small businesses? Start with small businesses, and your business will grow over a period of time. That's how every business grows. And I am seeing a situation after COVID that we are going to actually start having migration from cities to villages, because now work from home and all these cultures are going to happen. It doesn't matter where you are living, you can work now. So smart village was primarily for that objective, that entrepreneurship gets created in the village and the young people do not leave the village, and they actually do some self-employment work there.
Fascinating. Amazing. So so these are all programs that you've set up, all with that core focus on SMBs. You've talked about the training and the consulting. I have a couple more questions, and then I'll open it up to the floor. So we have some questions already. In terms of today, then, the types of training and the types of consulting that you do, tell us more about what that is. And I presume some of it's still at Global Network, right? And maybe that's where the consulting is. What does what does the training look like? What does the consulting look like? And how does that get done?
So I have three divisions. So one is Global Network, where we do international trade consulting, where we have clients with whom we have a yearly contract, and we handhold them for the entire year. If they have a website, we make it export-friendly website. We build their social media handles. We have a very unique model. As I said, nobody does the way we do. So we hire one person for that client in our office, and they pay them direct salary. My client pays them direct salary, but that person works from my office under my supervision for 1 year. And we train them. They actually do, my clients work from my office. So basically it's a knowledge know-how transfer. And he or she is an employee of that company. So, and then whatever has to be done for that company as a kind, we do through this person. who is their employee, but sitting in my office and working under my supervision. And then we prepare them primarily for international market. My logic to them is very simple. A lot of these companies tell me, why you promote international market? India itself is such a big market. The whole world is wanting to export to India, and you are saying to Indian companies to export. So this is what I tell them. The moment you start exporting, you learn the best practices of the world in your business. And when you bring those best practices to your business in India, your Indian business will improve and you will become more competitive. So that is the reason why so basically my benchmark is competitiveness. It is not international business, it's competitiveness. I say exports is the benchmark of competitiveness. If a company is able to export, it means it is not only just competing with companies in India to get that order, it is competing with companies around the world. If they are not competitive, they will not get that business. So exports I use as a tool of competitiveness. So my higher goal is competitiveness. And that is how I go, and then I handhold them for production processes, finance. If they have taken higher rate of loan, then look at interest audit, HR, manpower, complete. It's like total organization. Though I keep the focus on export, but I say you will not be able to export if your production process is not right, if your technology is not right, if the people are not right, if your finances are not proper. I said, even if you get an order and if your finances are not there, how are you going to supply it? So, that's how is my global network consultancy works, and we charge them a yearly fee. Another, my institute, Global Network Institute, where I do regular training, and we have conducted 600 seminars in almost 20 countries, and we do these seminars all over the world. And I go and do training in Turkey, explaining to Turkish companies how to export to South Africa. I do training in Sweden on how to do business with US. So it's a cross third country, cross country, and in India also I do. So training, I charge a fee. We have many subjects, and one of the things which is my strength, and which is also most people do not do. If you go to my website, all my businesses have website. My Global Network Institute website, gninstitute.com. If you see my seminar tab, 1997, I think 13th of January 1997 is the first seminar I conducted, and it is documented there. All 620 seminars of mine with the date and subject is documented in my website. That on this date, in this city, I did this seminar. This date, this city, I did this seminar. And when you see the kind of range of products I covered, the territory I covered, and where all I did, geographies, I mean, just being able to speak to 30, 40, 50, 100 companies in one program, and then taking their questions without knowing what they are going to ask, and then replying to that, I mean, that itself is a huge repository of knowledge. So this is my institute, which still runs, and because of this lockdown, you will be surprised. One of my staff only gave me an idea. She said, why don't you start a digital institute? So I registered a company from home. It is now called Global Network Digital Institute. And I converted my institute into digital institute, and I did all government registrations from home. No single paperwork. This is the power of digital India. No single paperwork, all applications online. I got approvals, and I also registered a company, same company in USA. That too all online. See, what I'm trying to say, everybody is considering this lockdown and this coronavirus as actually a moment of struggle. I have converted into a moment of opportunity. I'm now going to convert my all Global Network Institute work into my digital institute, because I see. So my point is, earlier you were saying action at the speed of thought. So the moment my staff suggested to me, I said, as an entrepreneur, I said, yes, that's the future. That's what we have to do, and let's do it. And we did it. So that's institute. And then my third company, which makes money, is Vibrant Markets, where we do market research. So when I was working with government of Manitoba as the trade commissioner in India for 7 years, I negotiated the contract in such a way. I actually worked with many governments. I worked with US Commercial Service, government of US, government of Oman, government of Brunei. I was advisor to the Sultan of Brunei, government of Senegal, many ministries of government of India, but in my all contracts, I make sure that I am free to do any other work. So even though I was the trade commissioner of Manitoba in India, I was free to do any of my other work, right? But I would deliver whatever they want me to deliver. So my contracts are all like that. So it is during that time that I did a lot of market research reports for Canadian companies, and they appreciate it. So we then use that model to, then just say that, okay, anybody in the world don't want consultancy, you want one-time market research report, we will do it for you, and here is the fees we will charge. The beauty of this model is that the moment I give them a market research report, we have a market research report in two parts. One is called QMR, Quick Market Research, quick, just 4 pages. When I give it to an entrepreneur, no entrepreneur in the world, I think, has a habit to read too much. No entrepreneur in the world reads too much. So if you give a very lengthy report, they are not going to read. So I give them a 4-page report. The beauty of that 4-page report is, it is so crisp that when they read it, they get one thing very clear in their mind, that I understood their business. That itself is a big starting point for me to do many, many other projects for them. So that's a QMR service we give. And sometimes we give it for free. We feel that this is a very good client, is not ready to pay our fee. We say, okay. See, this is also another innovation I practice for many, many years. I have done World Bank projects with this kind of approach also. I will give a very interesting example. And World Bank was zapped. They said, never in the history of World Bank, anybody has done a project like this with us. What I do, innovation, when I quote some fees to somebody and they say it is very costly, I say, okay, let's do one thing. I said, let's sign the contract. In the contract, write one point that whatever delivery we give you for the work, if you are not satisfied with that, you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay our fee. It is on us. And they get surprised. And then we take up the work, and we do a good job because we understand these things. And rarely it has happened. Rarely. I remember 1 or 2 instances it happened. But rarely it happened that, and then that opens because they trust. Now it's a totally different game. There is no risk of theirs. All risk is mine. Naturally, I'm going to deliver. And when they like it, then that opens my gate for a lot of other businesses in that. So that is vibrant market. And now today we have almost 600 clients all over the world. So many American companies, Canadian companies, Australian companies, Swedish, Finland, South Africa, Turkey, India, of course. We have clients from all over the world, and we give them market research report for anywhere. We would give an American company a market research report for Turkey.
Fantastic. There's a question that relates to a couple things that you brought up, the COVID and the action at the speed of thought. It's from Cherry Ann Craigwell from the Caribbean, and it relates a little bit, I think, to what you see in India, what we're doing next week with a 3-part series on Bangladesh for SMEs. And her question is that relates to that the economic environment there is high consumption on imports. The challenge is that SMEs have a very competitive environment with international and regional products, not unlike India. Most therefore are limited in raising revenue to improve quality and capacity for exports. What can be suggested for this? How to address it, especially considering limited support from the government? And you've done a lot of things with and without the government, so you know how that works. So what would your advice be for Cherry Ann?
Very nice question. So what is my take on this is, I always tell small medium companies that in order to become competitive, there are internal factors and there are external factors. The external factor is government support and market. And the internal factors are related to your entrepreneurship, your ability to delegate work and keep yourself free for developmental activities and strategy, production processes, technology, finance, HR, these things are internal. So, and I tell them it is 50-50. The success of a company depends 50-50 on both. Okay, even if you had all government support, but if you did not have your internal strengths, you will still not succeed. though you had government support, and it happens in many, many countries, including in India. Many times government support is immense, but still companies don't succeed, right? So it is not that because there will be government support, so you will succeed. So it is a combination of both. And this is where I start with. I tell them, forget government. Let us see how to build competitiveness within you, right? Once you are competitive through all these measures, which are very, very small measures, it doesn't require any investment. It is just a mindset change, that's all. For example, I tell a lot of small, medium companies that you have hired people in your company. But actually, if you do analysis of hour-to-hour work of 1 week, morning to evening, what you do, actually, you will find that many of the things which you yourself do, you have hired people to do. And you are paying them salary, but you are doing that work. Why should you be doing? Delegate that work. For my average thumb rule, I call it audit. I call it entrepreneur audit. Entrepreneur's time audit is my product. And I say 40% average, they are wasting time in work for which they have actually hired people. Okay, so this is how I create time. I said entrepreneur's product is time. If you have time to yourself, you will be able to do many things. And if you are busy in operations, then you will not grow. So like this, I make them, free from operations in a way. And then I connect them. I have a huge network of contacts around the world. I have huge network, right? So I know any company in any sector I meet, I can connect them to 4 or 5 companies from my mobile phone. Just I will pick up my mobile phone in front of them and I will take out, because the way I save my phone numbers is very unique again. I don't think anybody saves. I save my phone numbers with country name first, then sometimes city name, then the name of the person, only the first name, and then the product or the sector to which they belong. So suppose one jewelry company in Caribbean approaches me, or fruit company, in a vegetables and fruits company. I just have to go to my phone and I have to search fruit and vegetable. And everybody in my phone who is with that number will come out, and some of them will be from anywhere in the world. And I'll say, okay, now write this number, take this number, take this number, take this number, email, check this website, write to them with my name reference.
Fantastic.
Right? So 2 things will happen. Either they will be able to get business, or they will not be able to get business. If they are able to get business, it means they did something right. If they are not able to get business, they will understand the reason why they did not get business. And even understanding that and then improving upon it itself is a next stage of competitiveness. Then next time they are going to succeed. So either way, by my giving them those contacts, it is going to benefit them either way. So this is my approach. And actually I forgot to tell you one company, which is actually a very big company of mine. It is called Cluster Pulse. It is a not-for-profit charitable trust, economic development agency, and we do cluster development work. And this company I set up because Unido approached me and they said, I want you are doing international connectivity. I want to give you clusters. You are taking one company. I want you to take 20 companies from one cluster, one sector. And okay, so this is interesting, Doug. This is a interesting business model change in my business. Earlier, what I used to do, when I used to take delegations, I would take one product, one company only. One product, one company. If I have a chemical delegate, I'll take only one chemical company, not second. Because when I took them to US, I don't want the two to compete, because the buyer set is same. So I would take one company, one pump company, one textile company, one food company. So you can imagine my challenge. I had to find 20 set of buyers, different, because I had separate. When this cluster program came to me, Unido, they said, suppose we give you 20 companies from one cluster, all 20 t-shirt manufacturing companies. Can you arrange their meetings abroad? I said, wow. Earlier, I was separating the supply side. I said, now I have to separate the demand side. So I took 20 companies of t-shirt, all competitors of each other, but I built a model in such a way that 5 importers who would meet this company would not meet another company. So for everybody, I had a unique set of 5 importers who are meeting. So I segregated the buyers. Earlier, I was segregating the sellers. And because now I have to find only one set of buyers, not there's 20 set of buyers, my frequency of cluster delegations went up so much, right? A project which I would do in 3 months, now I could finish in 15 days. So then the UNIDO started giving me, they gave me 20 textile clusters of India. And I took 19 delegations in 1 year from 20 textile clusters. And that became very big business. World Bank, I started working with World Bank. World Bank funded me. Every economic development agency of the world has funded me. USAID, I did 10 years with USAID work in Afghanistan. I worked with Afghanistan dry fruit farmers, Afghanistan marble producers, women in handicrafts, so carpet sector, and they funded me. So the model was very unique. They would fund me, and my services to small medium enterprises would be free. So they would not pay me small medium, but somebody pays me, so not really free, but for them it was free. And same way, Commonwealth Secretariat I work with, US Commercial Service I work with. So all these companies, even today, Cluster Pulse is active, but not, I don't promote it now too much because, we had some changes in the laws of not-for-profit, and I wanted to stay away from all the, taxation hassles. But that is where small, medium, and Caribbean, for example, like Caribbean has a lot of clusters. And UNIDO also is doing work there. GIZ, German is doing work. DFID is doing very good work. I have worked with DFID in many African countries. And they have this model of cluster. Clustering is a very good approach for Caribbean countries because, the entire cluster can become competitive. And the beauty is that somebody funds it. There are so many donor agencies, like even Commonwealth Secretariat. So it's a government to government kind of a relationship, but not really government, because when UNIDO fund a Caribbean country, they would actually sometimes nominate that this work has to be done by this company. That is what they used to do with me, including World Bank would nominate us to the state government. They would say, we will pay you only if this agency is going to do the work. And we became a single source contractor to World Bank. World Bank never gives any project to anybody without tender. They would give the projects to us as a single source contractor, no tender bidding.
Got it. Fantastic. We only have 1 or 2 minutes left, and then we're going to wrap up. I just want to say, send a message to you from Debrina Ustun of Ustun Law down in Dallas. She's an amazing immigration attorney, and she visited you recently, so she says hi. It sounds like you were able to do some great work with her. In the minute or two that's left, you touched on COVID-19, you touched on optimism, you touched about seizing opportunities and action at the speed of thought. Could you just kind of leave us with a minute or two of kind of final thoughts, kind of wrapping things up, and what should we be thinking right now as the world for all of us has changed?
So this is my message, particularly to small, medium businesses and all our global chamber tribe also, that whatever situation is there, every situation in the world actually creates opportunities. I know so many entrepreneurs. If you know Alan Mittal, which is one of the richest men in UK today, he made all his money from factories which were closed down, sick units, and he revived them. Nobody would touch them. And he made money in very difficult economies where nobody will go, Kazakhstan in those days. And this is what he used to say, that the greater the difficult environment, the higher the opportunity if you are a smart entrepreneur, right? So now today it is so difficult times, right? And just today I have sent, I have a huge WhatsApp group, and I keep sending messages, and I sent message to a lot of people today that because a lot of factory people tell me that work from home is not possible for me. So I ask them, when you go to factory, how much time do you go to shop floor? So they say not much. So I said, then what do you go to factory? There are so many functions of factory you can do. My point here is, this is a transformational time. Everything in our life and business is going to change drastically. Never ever in centuries it has happened. And I don't think it will happen again. So we must very quickly reorient ourselves to that situation and see what that new situation is creating opportunity. It doesn't matter what is our business. Today, okay, I'll give you today's example. One in Goa, Globinar had come to Goa. So one company there, she is very good, Tatva's Spa and Salon. She runs a chain of salons. And she said, look, what do I do? All my salons are closing because the hotels in which my salon was there, hotels are closing. Because, the hotels are not, there is no occupancy. And my staff is also not there. What do I do now? So I said, okay, how many years you have been doing this spa and salon? She said, 18 years. Okay, I said, can you just start a series and do a paid series, charge a fee, and do a series that how to take care of your body. What is hair art? What is hair art? Why anybody gets a massage done? How does it impact your body? I said, start doing sessions and paid sessions, because you see, anything to do with health and hygiene, next 20 years is going to be big business. Okay, so I said, you convert yourself into this and start doing this, so your revenue stream is coming. But more important than the revenue stream is that your existing clientele sticks with you. Your clientele is still busy. Your clientele is still with you, and the moment you are able to open any of your the salons, they will come back to you. Otherwise, there is a chance they may not come back. They may go somewhere else. So keep them engaged, and at the same time charge a fee. Position your program in such a way that it shows a value, and don't do free. Add a fee to it. So this is what now spa and salon is one of the very difficult things which is going to open up quickly. It's the last thing which in India, at least. In US, I'm hearing many spas and salons are opening, but in India, so it's going. So still, there is a way by which you not only maintain a particular revenue stream. Okay, so I gave her an example. Okay, tell me, I said, when somebody comes to get a haircut, how much do you charge? So she says, we charge 400 rupees. I said, for the same person, for 1,000 rupees, which is $14, you do a 1 hour session on hair art, you are making double the money. You have your clientele of 18 years. You are making double the money. You have a huge, so many people will participate. When they come in your salon and they are sitting in the chair, only one person can sit for an hour. Here, 100 people will listen to you at the same time. And more important than making money is you are able to retain them, because they develop respect for you because of your knowledge and experience which you have started sharing. So, I always tell, I always tell everybody, you tell me your business and I will tell you a model which in these COVID days and later on, you can convert your business. So she was so amazed. She said, I have started developing this material and I'm going to do this. And, just today she started. I mean, now she started sending me a lot of information.
Fantastic. I can't thank you enough. This has been, my head is exploding with information. Really appreciate you sharing all of this today. I think the key takeaway for me is thinking about you at that point where 6 months in, you're struggling to figure out and you make the pivot, just like you explained this lady, right? 18 years experience with a spa. That's her reality. That's what she's plowing ahead with. And yet she has to now talk to you. You have to shake some sense into her to some extent, right? Not physically, but through your dynamic of speaking to them, their mind opens. Not everybody's mind is open, but you're able to do that certainly with a lot of different people. So thank you for sharing a lot of those key tips. Stay, all of the global tribes, stay resilient, stay adaptable, keep an open mind, and per Jagat's treatise, that the higher the level of difficulty, the higher level of opportunity. If you think, keep thinking. Thank you,
Dr.
Last comment,
Doug. One last comment.
Yes, sir.
Doug, so, I forgot to tell. So now we are living in a knowledge economy. Doesn't matter what is our business. If we attach knowledge to that, our profit from the knowledge component will be more than the profit of the product or service component. So this is the time to attach knowledge to the business. It doesn't matter what is your business. We are in a knowledge economy. But when we are producing something, we think we are in a production economy. No. You attach knowledge to that, and I have hundreds of examples. So I keep giving. So then your business, and this is the time to gain knowledge, and even to whatever experience you have in whatever business, you start sharing. And that is how your own knowledge, the highest gain of knowledge people have when they start sharing.
Great way to end it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shah. Really words of great wisdom. You have a good rest of your evening. You don't have another call tonight, do you?
Yeah, I have actually one more. Because you know,
So
US, you are a US. My all calls to US are in the night.
Got it. Right. So it's 9:30 in the evening his time. Yeah. So thank you very much, Dr. Shah. Have a good evening.
Pleasure. Thank you. You too. All of you enjoy. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.